Marjorie Taylor Greene's stock trading scandal is not going away, and it shouldn't. She needs to be held accountable. Corruption has been at the core of every action within the Trump administration, and when it seems difficult to explain what they're doing or why they're doing it, we always know where to look. How does this benefit the people closest to Donald Trump? And that has been the story of this insane tariff back and forth. Donald Trump is clearly trying to manipulate the market to serve him and his rich buddies, and that includes Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is not only called out to her face, but also just got hit with a legal bombshell that we are going to get into with Democratic Congressman Seth Magaziner later in this video, so please stick around for that conversation. But before we get to it, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, before we get into Marjorie Taylor Greene getting confronted by a reporter who she was not too happy with, let's start on some breaking news from Hakeem Jeffries.
Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene bought between about $21,000, according to the reports, and $315,000 in stocks in the 2 days before Trump announced he was pausing the sweeping global tariffs, notably stocks that were initially hit the hardest. She also apparently dumped between $50,000 and $100,000 in bonds. That doesn't sound like a coincidence to me, but what do you think of that, and what can happen to look into that?
So many of these people are crooks, liars, and frauds. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is, of course, Exhibit A. We are seeing corruption unfold before us in real time. And House Democrats and Senate Democrats are going to partner together to make sure we, of course, shine a spotlight on these issues. One, we do need to change the law so that sitting members of Congress cannot trade stock, period, full stop. And until we get to that point, we obviously have to continue to highlight why this is problematic. And if Republicans are unwilling to hold a hearing on this matter, I can assure you Democrats will on Capitol Hill in partnership with the Senate, and we also will take this matter on the road.
So Hakeem Jeffries is the first major party leader to announce that they are in support of a potential bill to ban stock trading by members of Congress and their families. This is huge news and is an important message for Democrats to get behind. We can make this a bipartisan effort, as it should be, because so many Americans support it, and it is the perfect opportunity to talk about the corruption of Donald Trump's White House and Republicans in Congress at large. This is nothing new that dark money has not just been a part of our politics, but now with Elon Musk, it is our politics entirely, and we need to be able to call it out and hold these people accountable, something clearly Marjorie Taylor Greene didn't really want at her town hall as she was having police take people out and tase them. But she was confronted over why her town hall was not really a town hall. Take a look at what she had to say.
Congresswoman, why did you choose to take the questions the way that you did, submitting them beforehand instead of taking them live for the audience?
Well, it's the way I've always done it. See, you guys haven't been to my town halls before. I've held many town halls throughout the years of being in Congress. And we always have people write down their questions. The problem is it's difficult to read everyone's handwriting. So normally they write down a question, they put them in a fishbowl for me, and I usually have to put on my reading glasses and read them. But it was much easier to have them type out their questions on the form when they signed up for the town hall.
Yeah, it's no surprise that Marjorie Taylor Greene is admitting that she doesn't know how to read. I don't think it's the handwriting. I think it might be you. But there is an obvious reason, and this is not always the case with how she holds town halls, which she rarely does, even in her deep red district. But Marjorie Taylor Greene just doesn't want to be asked these questions. She can't stand being confronted to her face. She can't take the pushback without losing it, as we saw at that town hall a couple of days ago. It's the reason why she needs everything checked off with her staff before. She doesn't want anything uncomfortable. She doesn't want to be pressed. Marjorie Taylor Greene knows that she can't take the pushback because when she does, she loses it. And when she was confronted by a reporter about her stock trading scandal, we got the response that we expected, and a little bit that we actually didn't.
Can we get your response to, there's been a lot of coverage on stocks buys that you made in the days before and the day of the announcement that these tariffs were being paused. Was there anything that you knew ahead of time? Can you at least respond to the criticism that's been published?
I think that criticism is laughable. President Trump has been talking about tariffs for decades. President Trump announced April 2nd is when he was putting tariffs in place. I have a fiduciary agreement with my portfolio manager. I don't place my buys and sells. That's something that the portfolio manager does for me, and he did a great job. Guess what he did? He bought the dip, and that's what anybody that has any financial sense does when they know the market's going to be going down. That was obvious to everyone, and President Trump had announced tariffs long before. That wasn't anything, that wasn't a secret. Big public information.
Congresswoman, on the stock issue, can you just confirm, and thanks for taking our questions.
You bet.
Can you just confirm that you didn't have prior knowledge of the pause, President Trump's pause on tariffs, and that you didn't have any conversations with your portfolio manager about that?
Oh yeah, no conversations whatsoever. And President Trump, I think he's done a wonderful job with how he's been handling tariffs. What we did know is he was starting them on April 2nd. That was announced for the whole world to know. And so I think he's doing a great job negotiating for America.
So we know that's an obvious lie from Marjorie Taylor Greene. Of course, she knew ahead of time. But what I think is so funny is that she admitted that Donald Trump's tariffs would destroy the market. She said that's what everybody knew, right? We know the real problem is that she knew he would be taking them off. Anyone could have predicted that Donald Trump's tariffs would have done enormous damage, which they did to the stock market, but we didn't know that he would quickly take them off, right? Because he was saying tariffs are here to stay. They're around forever. That's the information that we want to understand. If Marjorie Taylor Greene had early access to, clearly she did. But the fact that she's admitting that the tariffs screwed the market, just pretty funny stuff there. But what's not funny, of course, is the corruption, which I said that I talked more with Congressman Seth Magaziner about, and we did. It was a great conversation that I hope you stick around for all of. Let's take a listen to what we had to say about Marjorie Taylor Greene and some important legal news coming her way. We saw last week when Donald Trump was, I don't want to say going forward with his tariff plan, but playing the markets. Really, Marjorie Taylor Greene bought the dip, and that became public, and there has been a huge reaction to that, considering how much money has been lost by everyone else in America. Now, you are leading the charge on a bill to make sure we do not see more insider trading, like possibly what just happened with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Can you speak more to that?
Yeah, well, listen, I have the unfortunate non-pleasure of serving with Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she loves to dish it out, but she can't take any scrutiny herself. You're right. She not only did something highly suspect in making these trades right before Donald Trump made a big tariff announcement and made a lot of money off of the market movements, but also when she was asked about it at one of her town halls a couple of times, she just gave terrible answers that, like, honestly did not make any sense. She was like, well, you know, my person who does my investments, like, he just did what anybody else would do. Well, clearly not. Like, clearly not. Because as you said, due to Donald Trump's tariff craziness, the stock market has lost trillions of dollars of value. The S&P 500 is down more than 10% year to date. People's retirement savings are taking a hit. People's pensions are taking a hit. But who's doing really well in this challenging stock market environment? Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now, look, I've been talking about the importance of banning members of Congress from trading stocks for a while. And frankly, it was kind of hard to get people to pay attention to this earlier in the year. And I understand why. Like, you know, I do press events and stuff, and I say, hey, I want to talk about banning members of Congress from trading stocks. And people would be like, why are we talking about this now when Donald Trump is doing all of this terrible stuff? But I think what this Marjorie episode reminded everyone is, like, it's all connected, right?
Yeah.
Like with Donald Trump and his circle, it is all about grift. It is all about corruption. And the stock trading ban bill that I'm putting forward is about reducing the opportunity for corruption, plain and simple. So it's all connected.
Yeah, and we saw in Trump's first term, not to say that this corruption wasn't as bad, but the corruption that he was focused on is, okay, how do I get a couple of $100,000 from people staying at my hotels or maybe hosting an event at Mar-a-Lago or something like that? But now he's upped his corruption game. We see the tariffs are the perfect tool to do this. He's giving exemptions to CEOs willing to come down and spend $5 million on like a candlelight dinner. I think it is with him. I think he can maybe hold romantic events with CEOs somewhere else that doesn't impact us as much, but he's trying to give the carve outs. He's trying to play the game. How do you think we frame tariffs, not just as as a terrible non-plan with no end goal, but a tool for the corruption that people hate most about politics.
Totally. And so like with the terrorists, people are always trying to speculate, like, why is he doing this? Like, what's his motivation? The motivation is what you just said. Like, he wants these CEOs to come to him and beg and plead to have exemptions. Like, that's what he wants. He wants that power to be able to extort different industries, different countries, for his own benefit. And that creates an environment that is ripe for insider trading, because if some company goes into the White House tomorrow and Trump grants them an exemption, anybody who knows in advance that that is coming could make a huge amount of money by buying that company's stock. And so there's a couple of different things that I think we need to talk about here. Like, yes, we got to ban members of Congress and other political insiders from trading stocks. That is my bill. That is something that we're pushing on. It's actually a bipartisan bill. We've got some Republicans on it too. And Hakeem Jeffries just the other day came out in favor of the stock trading ban. That's important because he is the first leader of either party in either chamber to ever come out in favor of this. So that's a big milestone.
So how do we make it happen, considering that we're in the minority right now, and Mike Johnson, I don't know if he's padding his portfolio as much as Marjorie Taylor Greene is during this time, but how do we make it happen? How do we make this a big enough deal where we can really bring focus to it?
Yeah, as I've talked to other members about this, I would say this is an issue where there is bipartisan support, but also bipartisan opposition. We do have Republicans who support this bill. So my co-lead, my first co-sponsor on my stock trading ban bill is Chip Roy, like Freedom Caucus member from Texas. We agree on very, very little, but we agree on this. And we have got about a dozen other Republicans who have co-sponsored our bill, in addition to many, many Democrats. And so like it runs the gamut ideologically. I think the real difference on this issue is like who is willing to shake up the status quo and who's not. Importantly, the American people support this by 90%. That's according to the Navigator poll that came out a few weeks ago. When's the last time you saw any issue poll at 90%? So we just have to keep making that case and keep the pressure on. I think you make an important point too about Trump Hotel. Like this is that looks like cute compared to the kind of grift and corruption that's happening now. We haven't announced this yet, but since you brought it up, I'm working on a bill with Glenn Ivey from Maryland that we're going to drop next week that is going after another form of corruption that we're seeing out of the Trump White House, which is he'll like sue these companies for like frivolous lawsuits, like, oh, you said something mean about me, I'm going to sue you, which like probably wouldn't stand up in court. But then these companies pay him personally in his personal capacity, like $10 million, $20 million settlements. Like these are companies that he regulates. Like that is like such orders of magnitude between that and the stock trading, the Trump crypto meme coin. There's a new member named Sam Liccardo who has a bill on preventing presidents from doing meme coins. But we've got to like go after.
Can't believe we're at that point. We have to do preventing presidents from meme coins. And you talk about the regulation that Trump is able to control to get these companies to kind of bend the knee to him. But there's also regulation he's not supposed to control. With the FCC, we saw the chairman wearing like a pin, like a brooch of his gold face on his jacket. That's supposed to be an independent agency. And I think maybe with what Harvard is doing, standing up to Trump, we're starting to see this shift, because I've talked about, going into the administration, one of my biggest fears is that there would be so many companies or so many big institutions, we'd see CEOs, we'd see universities that would think, okay, Trump has won some big mandate, which I always try to make as clear as possible. He did not. It was really close. And they thought that there was some cultural shift and that they would have to give in to him because he would be so all powerful this whole time. But he's really squandered all of that in the matter of a couple of weeks. And now we're starting to see the opposition. Do you think that that is going to keep up? Do you think that we're going to see, the resistance grow a little bit more or in an explosive way right now?
I think so, for two reasons. One is courage inspires courage, right? So like credit to Harvard. Like they are standing up and they're saying, no, like Stephen Miller and Donald Trump, we are not going to let you write our curriculum for us. Like we are an independent academic institution. And I think that courage will inspire others. But the other reason that I, I think the tide is turning is that for those who have capitulated and tried to do a deal with Trump, like it hasn't always worked out for them.
Hmm.
Look at ABC, right? I'm sorry, it's yeah, CBS. Which one is the CBS? Yes,
Oh, CBS, yeah.
yeah, right. So they paid one of these settlements to Trump, like, and now he's got Brendan Carr from the FCC coming back and saying, "Oh, we're going to pull your license anyway,
Hmm.
because we don't like the way that you reported on Ukraine and Russia." Like, so like capitulating doesn't actually like lead to the results that some of these companies and firms hope it will. Same with the law firms. Some of the law firms that tried to make a deal with them, they thought that they were agreeing to do like pro bono work, on like charity, helping charities and stuff like that. And now Trump is out there saying, "Oh no, they're going to help us negotiate tariffs. They're going to help us, support ICE and deporting people without due process. Like they're going to take on all these cases." And these law firms are like, "Whoa, that's not what we thought we
Hmm.
agreed to." But it's like if you give in and you show that weakness, then they are just going to keep pushing you further and further. And I think that is the other reason. Like the courage of the Harvards and standing up and doing the right thing will inspire others. But then also for those who haven't had that courage, the fact that it's not working out well for them,
Yeah.
I think also will make a difference.
Yeah, and now that we're talking about, the money not working out, the last thing that I wanted to ask you as we look ahead to the midterms, which feel closer and closer every day, clearly Elon Musk's money did not take him that far post 2024 election. Do you think that his influence is going to outweigh his dollars? Do you think if he gets in a race, the backlash to him is going to be more damaging than any, potential dark money good that his dollars could do for Republicans? Do you think that that is just ultimately going to end up backfiring on him across the country?
Well, I think the issue with Elon Musk is not the money. The issue is that he himself has become such a toxic, unpopular figure.
Hmm.
Like just the optics of the richest person in the world cutting food aid for starving kids and cutting money, meant for veterans and meant for cancer research, like his numbers are tanking.
Yeah.
And so, money is money. And like, yes, like money can make a difference in campaigns. That's why we need to support good Democratic candidates, especially in those swing seats. But, when Elon Musk went to Wisconsin and like danced around on the stage like a moron, like that was it. Like that I'm sure that made a difference in the election because like people don't like him and they don't like what he's doing. And if he makes himself the face of these elections, it's just going to keep backfiring against him, I think.
We can only hope. I think it will as well. Thank you for all the work that you're doing to hold people like Elon and, unfortunately, your colleague and Marjorie Taylor Greene accountable. And I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you for the platform. Really appreciate you.